Chris, I was just having a chuckle. I was going through some of our old interviews today. I average a Chris Jericho interview about every 5 years. So it's
Every 5 years?
about every 5 years. I got one right back to 2004 with a great headline, The Whales of Jericho, when we talked about Fozzy for the first time. So that's how long we've been
Nice.
chatting over the years.
Nice.
Dark match. I watched that this morning and I gotta say, am I allowed to swear on here?
It's your show.
Oh, what the happened at the end? It was like hit
Crazy,
the head
right?
and
Yeah.
this demon comes out of the earth. What attracted you to this role?
I was a fan of Lowell Dean, who wrote and directed it. He did a couple movies called Wolf Cop, and so when I got the script, even though I'm not really ever interested in doing any wrestling related type movies or shows, because most of them are just bad, because it's hard to capture what wrestling is. I gave it a read because of Lowell, and I really liked it. It's so much more than a wrestling movie, and there's so much to it and a lot of layers and a lot of twists. And having watched it 3 or 4 times now in different theaters with audiences around the country, the reaction is always the same. At first, it's like, okay, whatever. And the end of it, they're all like, hell, like you just said, what the this is crazy in the best possible way. And I think that's the idea. And you have to watch the movie and see everything unravel and all the different elements of the story. And just reading the script, I was like, this is really well done. I really want to do this. And he really was able to capture wrestling in a great way, like the small town wrestling company going to the rural areas. I mean, that's my entire first year and a half, 2 years in the
Yeah.
business. And he was able to really capture that, which is hard when you're making a wrestling related film. So he did everything great. And then the horror comes in and the effects are great. And I think it just really worked out well. And I could see that from the start in reading this script that he created.
I was thinking about it this morning. The last sort of interview I did along these lines with a movie that was mixed pro wrestling in Hollywood was Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, which
Yeah,
I
and that's something I want. Yeah,
which I loved.
yeah, but I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to do anything like that because to me that's like it's fun, whatever.
Yeah.
I need something a little bit more deep, and he really nailed that with this film.
You've done a lot of different things. Like the last time we talked was about But I'm Chris Jericho, the CBC show
Yeah,
you did, and you've had a
yeah.
podcast, and you've been Fozzy for years. So you've kind of touched all realms. What is it about acting that pulls you back every once in a while?
Well, I mean, I've been acting for 34 years. I mean, you're playing
Sure.
the character Chris Jericho, right? And that's I loved, but I'm Chris Jericho. I think that was such a well done series. We had 2 seasons of that. It was a lot of fun. And so to me, it's not a matter of being pulled back in acting. It's what I do, and I want to do more of it, outside of the wrestling world. Because like I said, playing a character is it's fun, and I enjoy the challenges of playing different roles with different people, different directors, different actors, because it's really a challenge every time you walk onto a set, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days in, you've impressed everybody and everybody has mutual respect. Your first day, no one knows what to expect. You don't know who this guy is. They don't know who you are. They might know you from this, but they don't know you from that. And how good can this guy really be? So all of those things add to your performance. And to me, I love those challenges.
I mean, you touched on it. Obviously, you've played a character forever, and we see more and more people making the jump from pro wrestling into acting. I mean, probably the one that surprised me more than any in recent years was John Cena making the jump to Peacemaker and like blowing me away with his talent. And maybe I didn't see that in the weekly character that he plays. Does it give you a chance to get away from the Chris Jericho character a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously for sure. And I think one of the things about Dark Match that was really kind of a challenge and that's another reason why I'm a little bit hesitant at first is like, okay, I'm in a wrestling movie. I don't want people to just see Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Oh, what a laugh, Chris Jericho. Like, and that's why like we really worked hard. And I think about, 3/4 of the way through the movie, you don't see Jericho anymore. You see, the Prophet. And even in our final fight with Stephen Ogg, I didn't want it to be a match. I don't want to be doing
No.
code breakers and, here's the line, Salt. Get it? We put together a really great fight scene, choreographed
Yeah.
with an awesome stunt coordinator out of Montreal, and I really liked it. I was watching it last night in New York, when we had the screening here in New York City. I didn't see myself. I saw the leader versus Mean Jolene, the character that Stephen Ogg plays, and we put a lot of work into that final fight. and it really works. I remember I went and saw a Broadway play, 3 Days of Rain, starring Julia Roberts. And I don't know what happened, but all I saw was Julia Roberts on stage. And I always think about that. I don't want people to see Julia Roberts in this movie. I want them to see the leader and the prophet. And so that's a challenge. So yeah, but how do you play a character in a wrestling film when you're known mostly for wrestling, but not have people know that it's you or feel that it's you? And that was something I think we really accomplished well.
It would be remiss if we didn't talk about the soundtrack for this thing because it jumped out at me this morning.
Right.
There's a
Agreed.
Fozzy song on there. Striker, Ronnie Millsap, Trooper, Kiss. Did you have any input into
I
that
didn't.
soundtrack?
No. And once again, I was an EP on the film, but more just for the wrestling stuff to help Lowell nail a little bit more of what the wrestling culture is. Music, such a pleasant surprise. The first time I saw it, we were at Fantasia Fest in Montreal. And, if you're a Canadian and Trooper starts Raise a Little Hell, it's like, hell, that's like one of the anthems
An
of
anthem.
Canada, and then shout it out loud and
Yeah.
word up. Can't like I knew a Fozzy song was in there because we worked out the deal for it. But when you get Kiss and like that word up tune, like that's the epitome of that time frame of like the
Yeah.
late 80s. So they really nailed it, man. And I'm sure it wasn't cheap to get those
No.
tunes,
No, I just
but
you love
you know,
music,
the
right?
right, the right tunes for the right parts in that movie. So once again, that's when I started like really realizing this ain't no wrestlers versus zombies. This is a big time production that spent some money on this.
Yeah.
Not that wrestle. I'm not. I don't want to. Jericho, bags. I'm not bagging on that movie. I'm just saying that this is a really high class film, and even just the set design and the practical effects in this are amazing as well. It's a really well done movie. Very pro all across the board from the soundtrack on down.
What I liked about it, the movie itself was dark in every sense. It was dark in the content. It was dark in the play on
Yeah.
words of a dark match, but it was also very dark most of the movie. It was low lit, blues,
Yeah.
reds, very
A lot of
intentional.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something that I read or I actually saw on Instagram. They're doing kind of like a dark match diaries thing, and the director of photography, who's a genius, was talking about he really lit it in greens and reds, and the green signified evil, and the red signified good. And even at the very end, you're talking about the bat crazy demon. What color is the demon? He's green. What color is Aisha misbehaving? She's red. Got a red outfit on. And I just after he pointed that out, watching it again for the fourth time with that in mind, it's all greens and reds. Like, what a subtle thing. But when you know that, it's like, this is really, really good.
You popped me with the kayfabe line. That was the one for me. That was
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
that's almost a Giant Silent Bob, where the Enigma, who's our silent man, has one line and it's kayfabe. And it's like, if you know, you're laughing. But they've explained it earlier in the movie too. So if you don't know what that term is, you hear it. And then later on in the movie, when he delivers that line, it got a huge laugh last night. And that's like, I love watching the movie with audiences.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the fourth time I've seen it last night in front of a crowd. And we had a Q&A afterwards, and Shutter, who put on the event, was like, "Are you just going to show up for the Q&A?" I'm like, "No, I want to see the movie with an audience. I like hearing what they're reacting to, what they're laughing at, what they're screaming at, what they're like going, oh, when certain kills happen. And that's part of the fun. I would watch that movie 20 times if we were blessed enough to have 20 screenings. I would be there every time because every new theater has a new audience in it that's seeing it for the first time, and to be able to hear that reaction, it's very cool.
My understanding is that it will be released in theaters in Canada, which will be nice. Hopefully, we can get you up to some screenings for that. May I
Yes,
finish with a wrestling question?
sure.
Um, it's come around that time of year. You know, you've been doing this a long, long, long time. I'm curious, and I've always been curious. If the WWE Hall of Fame calls one day, will you go?
I mean, I'm not one of those guys who cares about the Hall of Fame because I don't think it's really real, anyways. So in some ways, it's like, yeah, whatever. In other ways, I want to pull a Sex Pistols and just refuse to show up. Send a letter saying, "Do not mention my name," like Axl Rose did. So, that what a great wrestling thing to do. So, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. It's great that guys go in there, and I'm glad they get a chance to. But I'm already in the Hall of Fame.
I feel
The
like it's
Hall of
for the
Fame is up.
I feel like it's
You
for
know,
the
I mean,
fans, right? I feel like it's for the fans.
it
It
is, yeah,
gives
it's
them
more
some
for the
closure,
fans,
right?
but you know, at this point in time, I could get put in the Hall of Fame and maybe get booed out of the building. So who knows?
Oh,
We'll see what happens. But for right here, right now, I'm enjoying what I'm still doing. I definitely wouldn't go in the Hall of Fame if I'm still actively performing in the ring. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And for right now, I feel good and I'm doing great work. And when I feel it's time to hang up the boots, I will do so. Until then, I'm just enjoying being a part of the business as I always have for the last 34 years.
I was pleased to see you in the new Netflix video segment that they put together when they debuted it.
I
Jericho
still
was
exist.
Jericho
I
was
still
played.
exist.
Yeah, I think we still call you Jer. We're still Jerichoholics over here, on the other side.
All right, man. We'll take
Uh,
it.
Thank you very much. 2004, I met you for the first time down in the bowels of, I think it was called the Rogers Center at that time. You signed a magazine for me. I have two autographs in my house. That one and this one that you would appreciate.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
me and Angus. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I love them. So
Well, we'll see you in another 5 years, man.
we will
2030.
take care, buddy. Maybe we'll see you at an AEW show.
Sounds great, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.